So here's a really tough question. Should a racial slur be treated as its own distinct kind of hate crime? It's a complex issue that gets right to the heart of justice and national unity. And it landed in front of India's Supreme Court, all because of one young man's tragic final words.
We are Indians. What certificate should we show to prove that? Just let those words sink in for a moment. These are the words of Anjel Chakma, and they weren't part of some academic debate. They were a desperate plea, spoken directly to his attackers right before an assault that would end up costing him his life. You see, Anjel was just 24 years old, and his question, asked in his last conscious moments, ended up sparking a huge national conversation about discrimination, about who belongs, and about whether our laws are truly designed to protect every single citizen. So from this heartbreaking incident, something else was born. A personal plea for recognition quickly turned into a formal plea for justice, right inside India's highest court. Okay, so let's just lay out the core facts that were presented to the court. We're talking about Anjel Chakma, an MBA student from Tripura. He was out shopping with his younger brother in Uttarakhand. A group of men started heckling him, he resisted, and they attacked him. He passed away on December 27, 2025, having never regained consciousness. These stark, terrible details became the entire foundation for this legal petition.
The public shock after Anjel's death didn't just fade away. It actually built into a formal legal argument. A petition was filed demanding that the law itself be changed to recognize racial slurs as a specific, prosecutable type of hate crime.
Now, before we go any further, let's make sure we're all on the same page about what we're actually debating here. You see, a hate crime isn't just any crime. What sets it apart is the motivation. It's an act of violence or aggression that's driven by prejudice against someone's race, their religion, or some other core part of their identity. The whole argument here is that the slur is what reveals the motive.
So the petitioner's key point was this urgent feeling that people can't just shrug and walk away from mob violence anymore. They argued that even new criminal laws like the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita just aren't enough. They claim these laws have a huge blind spot. They don't specifically address hate crimes or racial discrimination, which leaves citizens from northeastern states especially vulnerable.
All right, now this is where the whole debate gets incredibly layered. The Supreme Court listened to this really powerful plea, but they didn't respond with a simple yes or no. Instead, they came back with a profound warning about what might happen if they created a law like this. And the court's main concern was put very plainly by the Chief Justice of India, Surya Kant. He said, and I quote, "Classifying crimes based on a victim's identity could risk dividing society." Wow, that one sentence pretty much sums up the entire counter-argument.
So let's just break this down. On one side, you have the petitioner's plea. We absolutely need specific laws to protect vulnerable groups from targeted, racially motivated violence. But on the other side, you have the court's very serious concern that, as they put it, pigeonholing crime by race could actually fuel more polarization and deepen the very divisions we're trying to fix. It's a real clash of principles.
The Chief Justice laid out a really clear, universal philosophy. He said that crime, it doesn't matter who the victim is, it doesn't matter who the perpetrator is. Crime must be dealt with an iron hand. The principle here is simple: equal justice for all. The law should be applied with the same force to everyone without creating special categories.
And to really drive this point home, the Chief Justice brought up this number, 75. He pointed out that 75 years after independence, the country's strength has to come from treating all its diverse citizens as equals, not from writing laws that might accidentally highlight their differences. It's a really powerful appeal to that ideal of national unity.
Okay, so you've got these two very compelling but totally opposing views on the table. So what did the court actually do? Well, the hearing didn't end with a final ruling. Instead, it wrapped up with a very specific directive, basically mapping out the path forward for this incredibly sensitive issue.
So here's what the court decided. First, they told the Attorney General, that's the government's top lawyer, to really consider the arguments in the petition. And second, the whole issue was to be formally sent over to an appropriate government authority for a much more detailed review. So the court recognized how serious this is, but they deferred the final call. And what that really means is that the power to create a new law targeting racial slurs is now in the hands of the government, not the courts. The Supreme Court basically passed the baton, turning what was a judicial question into a political and legislative one.
Which leaves us all with this massive dilemma, right? How does a nation best protect its people?
Is it with universal laws that treat every crime with that same iron hand? Or is it by creating very specific laws that acknowledge and address the unique damage caused by crimes that are motivated by pure hate? There is no easy answer here, and it's a question that India now has to face head-on.